Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough. Welcome to WYR Reforging. If this is your first time here, first of all, a very big welcome to you. My name is Doug, as I said before, and basically this is my low-key, super chill Friday show where we talk about the news that came out this week from various game companies and just kind of chat and get to know each other. We're going to go through a few different topics as we normally do, and basically to keep myself from constantly being like from interrupting my own train of thought when people chime in with hi. We'll do a little meet and greet here, and we'll respond to comments and ask questions and that kind of stuff in between segments, which will end up with our main topic for today, which is how to win during edition changes. It is upon us again. The fearmongers are about, and people are wrapped up in the ecstasy of, oh my gosh, what word do I want to use? I'm going to say hyperbole. There we go. The ecstasy of hyperbole. That should probably be the name of the episode. There we go. If you will excuse me, I need like an IV drip of coffee this morning. But we are ready to roll. So, first of all, hi, welcome. How are you? Let me know in the chat how you are doing today. Sort of a low-key week this week because I did a lot of real-world stuff that kind of took some time. But we're going to dive right in with some hobby progress because that is what we are wont to do here. Go ahead and let me know in the chat what you are working on, and we'll talk about that here in a second. I mean, because there's a delay, I'll just show you what I was doing, and then we'll chat about your guys' projects. Make sure my phone's off. Okay. So I'll be honest with you, I didn't actually paint a ton this week. I've been traveling a lot. I had a lot of family stuff over the holiday weekend here in the States. And there's just a lot going on, you know, getting caught up with Broken Realms Kragnos and stuff. I hope you're enjoying that series. There's one more tomorrow. But I did grab some Tyranids. These were not painted by me, another local fellow who was super, super cool. And essentially the reason I got them is I found a small local group that is doing crusades. And crusades in 40K are the only way that I'm interested in that game, but I am hyper interested. So we have these. I know Path to Glory has been mentioned that it's going to be a lot similar to it, which I could not be more excited. We're going to chat about that a little bit when we get to the news segment. But yeah, he went for his own custom hive thing. Essentially what he did was there's a crystal blue primer color from Army Painter. So he just painted them all blue and then went back over and did some cool stuff. I'm not quite sure it shows up. It shows up a little bit there on the camera, but essentially for the carapace, what he did was put Jakara Orange, dry brushed it with Avalorn Sunset, so there's a yellow hue to it, and then did the entire thing with a flesh shade wash, I believe. Yeah, that was it, the Army Painter flesh shade, so it's kind of more of a brown than it is like a reddish or whatever, but it turned out pretty cool. The only thing that these models need is just a little tiny highlight, and so that's pretty much what I'm going to focus on, is just take a little dry brush with the lighter blue over the main skin parts, pick out some of the details he missed, and then just edge highlight some of the carapace. This is a Biovore, I believe. I don't know. So I got that. Got a whole bunch of these little dudes. I like him. That's cute. He's a cutie. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of Raveners, Tyranid Warriors. There's these guys, I believe they're Venomthropes, little brain bugs, and then my favorite model in the Tyranid range, and one that I plan to get a lot more of, the Carnifex. The Carnifex is one of my favorites. It's kind of like their equivalent to like a Dreadnought, but it's so much stinking fun. Just a big fat monster running at you. Oh, and then there's this, it's used as a Swarm Lord, but this is the old metal Tyranid Hive Tyrant model, and he was like, you know, I'll just throw it in because nobody wants the metal one. I was like, I want the metal one. I want the metal one so bad. I love when you have like a beefy metal character model. He even magnetized the arms and everything. I was like, man, what a win. So that's all the big bugs, and then I have two, I think these are battle film cases. I don't even really know. These, and this one is all Hormagaunts, which is the melee version, and the other one is Termagaunts, which is the shooter dudes. So I got these just for trading off some stuff that I didn't really want, to be perfectly honest with you. He was super cool. Yeah, no, it was a wonderful time. So I'm excited to hopefully not this weekend, but next weekend jump in with Crusade in 40k. Now this one, next thing on my hobby progress, this is a bit hard to show, but this is a colossal cork board. The kind of thing you'd get like at any kind of office supply store. I found this one that is the inside, so the actual cork, not including the border, is 34 inches by 22 inches. So this is actually going to be the base of my, it's going to be a good board for Warcry as well as Reign in Hell, the game that I did a review for Vince Ventrella and Uncle Adam of Tabletop Minion fame. So I got that sorted out. I mean, that thing cost me like, I think $3 at a Salvation Army store, like a thrift store here in the States. So that's awesome. I'm going to start mapping out how I'm going to build it and that kind of stuff. It makes a really nice, just solid base. So I hope that idea trickles into your brain so you can make some cool boards for yourself. Forgive me, I just got out of the shower. I'm still like sopping wet. Let's see, I got some chat here. Let me just pull my chat up so I can see it a little easier. So yeah, and that's it for me for hobby progress. So we'll take a break here. I'll talk about what you guys are working on. We'll just kind of chat together, have some coffee, keep it flowing. Storm Fiends, nice. Flew home from Denver. Oh, bummer. Let's see. Just got my Ossiarch Bone Reapers Warband for Underworld. Nice. Those guys are really cool. I like the bow guy. Like his pose just looks perfect. I don't know. Could be better. Collarbone is shattered. No! Motorcycle accident. I'm on morphine though. I'm all good. Well, Oren, hang in there, buddy. There's no part of motorcycle accident that sounds good. Currently finishing my first ever miniatures, the Bile Piper, the Scrivener, and 20 Plague Bearers of Nurgle Florian. Those are great models, and they just got way the hell better with Broken Realms. That wasn't Kragnos that had those, right? That was Be'lakor. Broken Realms Be'lakor. Man, so good. So good. Wow. Let's see. Working on samurai-themed conversion big wall. Interesting. I have never seen samurai orcs, but I like it. T+ stuff from Jamie. Those Tyranids make me want to play 40k. They look like space dinosaurs. Pretty much that's what they are. Let's see. Hive Mind. Hey, Doug. Can't stick around. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Biofoot. Hope you're well. Just working on eels at the moment. Dice Sagas. Nice. Those will show up well in a battle report. And, watching a sick twin. They're at daycare trying to play a solo 500-point game of 40k. Poor thing. Corey Bragg, if you guys don't know, my good friend Corey is the awesome gentleman who sent me the Blood Bowl team, which, speaking of which, Corey, the local store here in my part of Iowa, they are beginning to open up, and there will be a Blood Bowl league here starting soon, so I will be painting those up. Thank you so much, buddy, for your patience. He's currently en route to Vermont from North Carolina. Looking forward to some chill while you're reforging. Well, you got it, buddy. Let's see. I just took them for the looks and now realize they're actually really good. Yeah, they are. They can do some pretty cool stuff now. Finally working on my Feast of Bones box. Wow, Nicholas, that's awesome. That's like the Internet Explorer meme where it's like a few years behind, but that's how everybody is with their backlog. So congrats to you for getting caught up, my dude. Of just like, hey guys, this new game called Age of Sigmar dropped. Dude, I keep thinking you're still in Washington. No. I got a beautiful home and a lovely life here in majestic Iowa. Fields of opportunity is the catchphrase of the state, and it does not disappoint because fields are all we have. So, moving into games played, I did not play any games this week, unfortunately. Yeah, because of the holiday weekend. That's what I was like. Did I? No, I didn't. I did a demo day for Conquest 2 weeks ago. No, maybe 3. But it's just one of those things, like, now that stuff's opening back up again and it's summer it's normal summer stuff. There's weddings and birthdays and all these kinds of things. So we've been seeing family quite a bit. I think we will be for the next 2 weeks or so as well, just traveling a lot on the weekend. So I'm trying to get some games in. I have a game scheduled of Conquest tomorrow, and then hopefully a game of my first game of 40k Crusade next weekend. So we'll see how that goes. Right, what is that weekend? Let's see. Yep. Yeah, hopefully it's on that Saturday. So let's see. Slowpoke meme. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the Slowpoke meme. I love it. How'd you find the Spires army build? You mean as far as like how to physically build the warband box? It was no problem. As far as like building the army to play, Conquest is a very unique game because of how leaders interact with their faction. So if you don't know, imagine, I'm just going to put this in AOS terms because obviously that's what we talk about here a lot. Imagine you wanted to take a mega boss on Mach Russia. Okay. That model is going to have a list of other units that he can take with him. And so you're basically making these little mini war bands within your list. You pick a leader and then you fill out however many troops you want to have with them. The reason that gets a little bit odd is because leaders are connected to units in Conquest, like they're literally like in the stands with them. So how you configure your army build, let's say you want to have a monster mash, big things. Okay, that means you're kind of narrowed to a few choices for heroes because those are the ones that unlock the big monsters as their troops that they can take. And so it's interesting because like you have to have a kind of a concept of what you want your list to be like, and then pick heroes that make those options available to you, which is it's really quite fun. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I just saw a question I'm going to answer here in a second. But, yeah, so I think it's a lot of fun. It's a very challenging and new way to do list building. I like it. So, it's been cool. One thing I am excited to do tomorrow when I play is the first time I'm going to bust out my Avatara. If you don't know, those are like... Spires is a faction that has a lot of really cheap chaff units and then a few like really heavy hitters. And two of those units that are really freaking good is the Avatara, which are these like... Think of them as like brutes in AOS, like bigger than a standard model, bigger than a basic orc. And if you let them attack you, they'll ruin your day kind of a thing. And then the other one is the Abomination, the big monster you get in the 2-player core set. That thing is freaking brutal. Straight up. Holy hell. I love it. So anyway, that's what I'm doing tomorrow. I will have stuff to report on. So if you want to know more about Spire stuff, Spyro, I'll have a better report for you tomorrow. Let's see. Or I guess next week is when I'll be live again, so yeah. Rando question. Do you play any Warhammer role-playing games like Soulbound or Deathwatch? Or are you more into the tabletop? I'm certainly more into the tabletop. Role-playing games, like I do, I was part of a Soulbound group for quite some time, and then I foresaw that there was a bunch of stuff on our regular meeting nights that were going to keep me from attending, and so I bowed out. Biofoot here, who was here earlier in the chat, he was my DM. It was a super great group. I absolutely love them. I just didn't want to be inconsistent. I don't want to be that guy who's like, I'm out for 4 weeks and then I pop back in and I'm like, hey, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to be very, very consistent. And so the time and stuff like that just wasn't working for me. So I want to play role-playing games. I'd love to do a Soulbound eventually with my gaming group. The thing about role-playing games is, though, it's just a very different social dynamic. And so, like when I rock up to a table, and I'm playing against somebody, you can kind of like feel each other out as far as like what kind of gamer you are, and when you can relax and joke, and when you kind of focus a little bit more on the game, thing. I love that stuff. But the group dynamics of having a bunch of people with different ways to play and different interpretations of fun and how that affects the DM stuff, it's just very different. And so I'm kind of like watching a whole bunch of role-playing game videos at the moment, trying to get more comfortable with it, I think is probably the best way to say it. People is tough. Does anyone know any live streams like this for comics? Oh, like a weekly recap of comics and stuff? No. But I love to watch it if they do. Comics is one of those things I'd love to get into, but there's so much history at this point. It's really difficult to, like, casually saunter into comics. Let's see. Are you interested in doing battle reports for 3rd edition, especially more narrative ones? I could be interested in doing, Path to Glory battle reports, because the smallest, if I'm not mistaken, one of the smaller Path to Glory formats uses the Warcry board size. At least it does for Crusade in 40k, so I think I can do that with my cool board I'm building right now. I'd like to. It'd be cool. I don't know if I'd be any good at it, but yeah. Let's see. I've been looking at Shadow of the Demon Lord. Really tight rule set from a developer for D&D 5th edition. Has the same feel of Warhammer Fantasy RPG. Cool. Thomas Yee, I'm close to making a big Conquest purchase. I had the starter box plus 2 extra add-ons in the cart last night. I decided to sleep on it. Well, if you do, I mean, I'm not pushing you either way. I don't want you to have any regrets or whatever like that. If you do, just be sure to use my code, because you'll get 10% off, which makes the sting a little less. For comics, I would check out Geek and Sundry. Don't know if they still do, but they used to cover some comic stuff. Cool. Cool. If I ever get my Gloomspite Soulbound campaign off the ground, you're invited. Absolutely. Yeah. DC Comics just had a reboot, so it's a great time to stop. Interesting. Comics commentary is quite political, unfortunately. Why? I mean, I know comics can cover topics that are like that, you know. I mean, kind of like how X-Men was a great allegory for covering a myriad of minorities who were being persecuted in the early time of its lifestyle. But I mean, life cycle. But I don't know about politics today. I don't know. Let's see. You made the Beast of Chaos narrative battle report. That's true. Yeah, that's a thing that people liked. I can definitely do that. I could probably do it way better now. I have a much better camera. I could do that. Okay. So we're moving out of games played. Obviously, closing out that segment pretty quick because there's nothing going on. And we're going to talk about news. So, here we are at the Games Workshop, or Warhammer community page. Maybe? Am I on that page? Here we go. Yeah. And essentially, I looked around for other, bits of news from other places. Hold on a second. My chat's being a little strange. Can everybody see and hear me okay? Give me one quick shout out, because this thing just randomly was like, your stream quit, but there's no reason for it. So I'll pause here. Someone just say if you can hear and see me. I'm going to keep reading comments because everything's political now. Oh yeah, in reference to comic books. Yeah. Comic writers nowadays can't separate activism and comics. Interesting. Okay, cool. I just saw the YouTube thing on my end said no connection for a split second, but it still had like the green dot of like you're live and things are good, so I was a little bit confused. For this segment, basically, I just pull a few articles that sounded super interesting to me. But yeah, we'll chat about them. So there's no real news from Parabellum, who does Conquest, or Warcradle, who does oh man, they do a whole bunch: Wild West Exodus, Dystopian Wars, that kind of stuff. There wasn't a ton of news. They started doing cool previews and stuff like that, but not really full releases. So yeah, we'll dive into what G-Dubs has got for us. Actually, we'll go from least relevant to most relevant. So I'm bringing this in because this is an army that I played and I deeply loved, and that is the Orcs in 40k. Now they're getting a new codex here pretty soon, and with them is the Beast Snagas, all the things that we saw from the 40k reveals during reveal week. But one, let's see. Okay, quality drop. Maybe it was just a connection thing and it just kind of reboot to a different level of connectivity. Let's see. I'll go ahead and skip this one. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened during that exchange, but whatever. So here we are with the Orc Boys. Now, one thing you'll notice very, very quickly if you are a 40k player is their toughness stat has gone up. That is huge across the number of boys that orcs can field. That's all I really have to say about that. You know, they're kind of going through some of the weapons that the beast snaggers have, and honestly, I don't know anything about their kit as far as, like, you know, weapon options and if it's a multi-kit or whatever. Don't know, don't really care. But the fact that, like, the basic orc boy now has a toughness 5 is actually super freaking cool. So I'm actually very excited for them. That's all I wanted to say. That's actually really big news for the orcs in 40k. That one stat going up 1 point is massive. Let's see. Looking at the chat here. Hello from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hey. Cruel Boys, is that how they're modeling orcs now, or are they just an offshoot? I believe they're just a specific offshoot. Like, they are their own thing. I'd appreciate if you could keep us up to date with the new Warhammer animation subscription thing, Mole Miner. Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that's what the stuff, you know, the money that comes in from YouTube memberships and Patreon, it goes to doing things like that, like buying books that I can then review and read for you and get content, and it'll be feeding the Warhammer Plus subscription, and I will absolutely report in how it is and give you some real thoughts. You know, I mean, I can't fathom that they're going to give me a free subscription for that. So, you know, I'll bite the bullet and I will report back if I think it's worth it and that kind of stuff. I have some initial thoughts, but I'm keeping my expectations pretty low when it comes to Warhammer Plus, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. I have 2 old Assault on Black Reach starter sets in my basement. Might be a good time to start some orcs. Honestly, it might be. Like, I don't know if the copter in there is still going to be a thing. I don't really know about that model at all, but if you just got a butt ton of boys, that's a weird sentence. If you have a bunch of boys, that's a great way to start. I like how toughness 5 orcs means most things wound them on the same or hit roll that they have. That's awesome. Okay, here we go. Article regarding all this stuff here. Hey, Nathan, loving the Kragnos. Oh, you got it, man. There's one more tomorrow as the conclusion. Hey, Hugh. So we're going to jump into this article here. I'm just going to read it because lots of folks are on the road, and I don't know, I'll serenade you. Yesterday we talked about the upcoming Era of the Beast in the first installment of a daily series of articles exploring Warhammer Age of Sigmar's new edition. I'm going to put a point right there. They say daily. I believe this is just speculation. I believe it's going to go up for pre-order, at least the Dominion box, not this weekend, like tomorrow, but I think next weekend. If not the one after, I mean, it's definitely one of those 2 weekends for sure. Just to kind of give you a sense of how long they're going to be putting an article every day up. Today we're taking a more pragmatic dive into what you have to look forward to with the updated rule set. I like this picture. I love their art when they do the cartoon stuff. I met one of their cartoon artists at Nova, and she was wonderful. The core rules have been rewritten from scratch to create the most concise and elegantly explained rule set ever. Great care was taken to retain the feel of the game while adding clarity and making it easier for new players to pick up. Veteran gamers will recognize everything they love about Warhammer Age of Sigmar, but it's been broken down, analyzed, updated, and reassembled in a groundbreaking new layout. I don't like the phrase groundbreaking. I feel like it's overused, but okay, let's go. Let's take a peek at this section here. So this is just a snippet from the shooting rules section. In your shooting phase, you can pick a friendly unit and shoot with it. When you shoot, you make shooting attacks with each model in the unit until you have a shot with all the models you want to. You can then pick another friendly unit that has not shot and shoot with it, and so on until you have shot as many units as you'd like. There's some cool side notes here that I really want to pick out. So shooting attacks. it attacks with any of its ranged weapons. This, I think they're more demonstrating how they've broken the rules out to make it very clear than actually showing us a new rule, so to speak. A unit that's within 3 inches of an enemy unit can only target enemy units that are within 3 inches of it. That has not changed. And then we have Lookout Sir did get some changes. So you subtract 1 from the hit roll for an attack made by a missile weapon that targets an enemy hero within 3 inches of an enemy unit that has 3 or more models. That's what Lookout Sir is right now. The Lookout Sir rule does not apply if the hero has a wounds characteristic of 10 or more, which means some of those beefcake heroes are going to be easier to shoot, and that is nice. 10.0 is awkwardly written. Yeah, I mean, well, so I agree with you. It is a little bit awkward. It's kind of wordy. It's written for rules lawyers who ruin English for the rest of us. Have you ever actually seen like lawyers like give a deposition? I don't know why I'm always thinking of like when Italian mobsters get brought in to jail and stuff like that, or brought into court, and they're like, at the time, me and my associates, we were unaware of the fact that crime was happening at the purported location. And they just kind of like talk around instead of saying like we didn't do it. They just like extend that sentence into like 10,000 lines. That's exactly the same thing. It is very nice for a Night Haunt. That is a fantastic point. How many wounds does Lady O have? I don't remember. Okay, but the things I wanted to pick out here that are actually super interesting. A unit can shoot at an enemy that is within 3 inches of another friendly unit without penalty, so you can still shoot into combat. If you're in combat, you can't shoot out of it, kind of a thing. And this side note here, when shooting with a unit, you do not have to shoot with all the models in the unit if you don't want to. This means, so basically if you melee right now, you have to do all your attacks. You have no choice. With shooting, you do. So you can kind of have a little bit of control there. Control is always good. Let's see. All the rules have been given a nice, easy reference number, and the key sections are clarified with additional points to make everything crystal clear. You'll also find margin notes, which call out referenced rules, point to notes and examples. We asked the Warhammer Age of Sigmar studio to give you some insights. I'm going to let you guys watch this. This is Ben Johnson. First of all, looking fly. Good for him. But also, he just kind of points out that like it was a massive undertaking to kind of get everything broken down like this, and they did a great job, him and his team. So, yeah. Let's see. The rest of it's just kind of talking about the rules layout. With the new rules creating the best battle system yet, those taking their first brave steps in the Mortal Realm can quickly get comfortable with the basics, drilling down to learn more about each phase. As an added bonus, when you're in the thick of battle and need to check a rule, the new layout helps you find the section you need so you can get back to dice rolling fast. That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, I don't know if this was the most exciting preview, the shooting phase one that didn't have a lot of changes, but by golly, it's there. And now we're going to go move into the next article, the one that I think has some real meat on the bones. How Warhammer Age of Sigmar's new edition turns monsters and heroes up to 11. Doug, have you watched the new Bo Burnham Netflix show? No, I have not. I am about 20 years behind my time when it comes to what's on Netflix. Warhammer has always been a game about larger-than-life champions and horrifying beasts duking it out on the battlefield. Agreed. Sure, there are plenty of troops who do most of the real work, but the big duels and epic throwdowns make for nail-biting games. Could not agree more. Again, amazing cartoons. I love this Maw Crusher. Blah! Okay. The upcoming edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar carries on the fine tradition of star-studded armies and then cranks it all the way up with heroic actions and monstrous rampages. Okay, heroic actions. These are a totally new type of ability, used in each and every hero phase by both players, or all of them if you're playing a big multiplayer game, of course. Heroic actions bring fresh tactical opportunities, and keep the action flowing for everyone involved. And so this is a wonderful way to kind of keep heroes always doing something, but then having more, I guess, options. So we'll talk about them here. These rules are different from command abilities. Think of them as extra freebies to make your heroes more like the ones you read about in your favorite Warhammer fiction. I'm all about that. Like, pause there. That is what I want. I have joked oftenly about if I was Warhammer president, the prices for heroes and monsters would go down and then infantry would go up, because I want to see these titanic things duking it out and having fun. This is a way better way to do that. I love it. So, heroic actions. Let's see. A unit with a hero keyword on its war scroll is a hero. Thank you. Thanks. Thing is in fact thing. Oh, okay, cool. At the start of a hero phase, you can carry out one heroic action from the table below with one friendly hero. The effect on the heroic action is treated in the same way as the effect and ability for rules purposes. So if something says no ability will let you do blank, it does affect heroic actions. So that's a great little way to sum that up. Let's see. Yeah, at the start of the hero phase, you can carry out one heroic action from the table with one friendly hero. So my understanding, unless I'm misinterpreting something, is you get one heroic action, but you both get them every hero phase. Water is wet. I love it. Oh, man. So, yeah. So my understanding from reading that, someone correct me if I'm wrong, is, yeah, you each get one hero action every hero phase. So that's great. That's both. Then they have a list here of heroic actions. There is heroic leadership. Pick one friendly hero, roll a dice, add 2 to the roll if your general has been slain. So if a secondary guy is picking up the banner, he becomes super good at this. On a 4-up, you receive 1 command point that can only be spent during that turn to allow that hero to issue a command, which is cool. I mean, it's a great way to get command point generation, which we haven't talked about a ton in these preview articles, but that's wonderful. Heroic willpower. I'm just going to abbreviate this one. If your hero is not a wizard, they can unbind a spell like one, which is super great, honestly. I like it quite a bit, and I think that's really important as to why heroic actions have to be at the start, because then you would declare that your guy has heroic willpower, and then if it's your opponent's turn, they can do their jam. So I like that quite a bit. Not that I think heroic willpower is a great way, because, you're just probably rolling straight dice. If it's your hero phase, that hero can attempt to dispel one endless spell, as if it were a wizard still. It's fine. It's an option, and I like options. Next is, this is a great one, their finest hour. Pick one friendly hero. Add 1 to wound rolls made by that hero until the end of that turn. Keep in mind, this can be done in your hero phase or your opponent, so you could super buff them to make a super nasty threat deep in their enemy lines. Add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target that hero until the end of the turn. You cannot carry out this heroic action with the same hero more than once in the same battle. That's nasty, because nothing here says that you can't be a hero and a monster and benefit from both of these. We'll get to the monster ones in a second. That's freaking dope. Dang. Because there are just some nasty... My brain immediately goes to Flesh Eater Courts with, like, Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeists or Zombie Dragons or something. That's so cool. Last one here is Heroic Recovery. Pick one friendly hero. It makes a heroic recovery roll by rolling 2d6. If the roll is less than the hero's bravery characteristic, you can heal up to d3 wounds that have been allocated to that hero. If the roll is equal to the bravery characteristic, you can heal 1 wound. And because it's not listed, if it's more, nothing happens. If it's more than their bravery, which is interesting to me. It certainly helps out Night Haunt demons. I see in the chat we've already mentioned Great Unclean One with this. Sounds horrifying. There's a lot going on there. It's interesting to me that, like, low bravery heroes struggle with that one. Like, what is the bravery of, I don't know, Loon Boss? Then again, if the Loon Boss gets hit, they're usually dead. They're not even around long enough to do D3 wound heals. I don't know. It's interesting. Good luck unbinding my 4+4 Skagrot spell, buddy. I love it. So anyway, there is that Cody Griffin. I miss you, buddy. Oh, thank you so much, man. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet of you. You just made my day. Yeah, dude, I'm here. I'm hoping to do this every Friday again. I just wanted to do more. I was hoping actually to do more live streaming this week with what's it called, Stormground, but unfortunately I had to get caught up on Kragnos first. But thank you. Want to make sure your champion comes out on top of middle important duel. Invoke finest hour. Okay, they're just pointing out how to do stuff. These abilities may seem subtle, but they make your heroes feel a bit more heroic, and they don't cost any command points to use. Talking about more command points. Okay. With the updated rules in the new edition, it's a little harder to decide if you want to go first after winning the priority roll, thanks to a bonus command point going to the player who goes second. So, that's awesome. When determining who will take first turn, the player who will take the first turn receives 1 command point, and the player who goes second receives 2. That is awesome, and I'm sure will be compounded, I guess, by the missions. Like, because right now we have, was it Knife to the Heart or something like that, where there's a mission where if you go second, you get to choose an objective that goes away. That is an extremely powerful and very interactive rule set. I love it. You'll still earn another point if your general's on the battlefield, bringing your total to either 2 or 3 points for most of the battle, before taking any other abilities into account. Those crucial command abilities are also more versatile. So these are the basic command abilities that everybody has, or at least the ranges and stuff like that. I like it. We know that command points and how you accrue them and gain them is changing, so I'm very excited to see, like, I want fuller context on this, but that's cool. Okay. Using command abilities, I'm not going to go through this a ton, but to use a command ability, you spend a command point, pick one friendly model to issue the command, pick one friendly unit to receive it, unless noted otherwise, which is an important line because almost every command ability has ranges on it. The model that issues the command can issue them as follows, and basically, yeah, gives ranges for everything. Two things are important here. Unit champions can issue commands to their own unit. That is huge. That means every unit in the game now functions like the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, who can do that with their Hecaton leader dudes who lead the units of their basic dudes. That's massive and super cool. Heroes can do stuff that's wholly within 12. Generals can issue commands wholly within 18. That's not really different. But they added this one, totems. Totem is a very interesting keyword. Can issue commands to units that are wholly within 18 inches of them. So, I mean, that's dang near half the board when it comes to something like the War Shrine, which is a totem, and it's a massive base. So that's awesome. That's actually the first thing I went to. That and the Corn banner dude, the Bloodsecrator. Yeah. It makes certain units that don't have leaders a lot weaker in a way. It does, but I'm trying to think of a unit that does not have any form of leader model that would really, truly want it. Like, a lot of those units tend to be like throwaway dudes. Like, I don't know. Can someone throw out a unit of multiple dudes that doesn't have a leader that would desperately want it? I don't know. Cody Griffin, little off-topic thoughts on Stormground. I enjoy it. I want to play it more. I did that one stream where I kind of reviewed the basics of it. Unfortunately, this week I just didn't have time to be able to play a ton of it, but I, generally speaking, really do like it. It's my style of thing. It's a good in the middle between Total War and Underworlds, so to speak, with the video game versions of them. Yeah. I'll give you a more concise one hopefully this week. I'll talk about it a bit more in a video. Barcod, yes, that's what I mean with a unit leader for sure. Dragon ogres, zombies, yeah, I mean, I don't know. As if my Bloodsecrator didn't have a big enough target on him. Exactly. That bullseye just got an extra ring on the outside. Dracothian Guard and Morghast don't have... Okay. Interesting. We're going to move into the monster coverage, and this is one that is near and dear to my heart. Although I don't know why, because I'm kind of leaning towards Stormcast right now, and as far as I know, they don't really have much in the way of monsters. Right? They have the Star Drake, the big guy, that's about it, right? Can someone else name a Stormcast monster besides the Star Drake? Anyway, okay. But hey, look out, sir. Exactly. Some armies are less about noble warriors and more about unleashing slavering beasts or demonic entities upon their foes. If you like your army to be suitably monstrous, you're going to like the new addition, as every single charge phase, each player's monsters can go on a monstrous rampage. And we're talking about stomping on enemies, smashing terrain to ruins. This is some big ones. Oh, the Torah line. You're correct. Thank you so much. Those ballistas are monsters. No, I think that's keyword war crime. Oh, they're so good. I love them. Okay, monstrous rampage. At the end of the charge phase, each player can carry out one monstrous rampage from the table below with each friendly monster. The player whose turn it is taking places, player whose turn is taking place carries out all of their monstrous rampages first. The same player cannot carry out the same monstrous rampage more than once per phase. So that's an interesting thing. This makes it sounds worded very differently from the hero one. This is every monster, whereas the hero one made me think that it's just you pick one hero during the hero phase. Every monster gets to do this. You just can't do the same thing more than once. I love it. The mayor of Hammerhall rides a monster. That is true. That is true. Okay. And just a side note, the monstrous rampage is treated the same way as the effect of an ability for rules purposes. Yeah, again, just like the hero thing, if anything says an ability causes blank, you'll treat it the same way. There's that weird song where they just kind of yell for some reason. Moving on from that. So we'll go through them here. Monstrous rampages. First one, Roar. Katy Perry style, you're going to hear me roar. If you do not sing that every single time you charge with a monster, you should automatically fail. Pick one enemy unit within 3 inches of this model and roll a dice on the 3-up. That unit cannot issue or receive commands in the following combat phase. Now, I'm interested in that. Cannot receive commands in the following combat phase. I'm assuming, so because now every unit leader has the ability to issue commands and that kind of thing, that is a great way to shut that down. That's wonderful, right? I mean, unless there's some wording thing that I'm missing, that's what it would really do, is shut down the ability to give for a unit to give itself orders. There we go. Stomp. Pick one enemy unit within 3 inches of this model that is not a monster and roll a dice. On a 2-up, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. Wonderful. Especially if you're, I don't know, like a Ghoul King on the back of a Terrorgeist, where you can cast Arcane Bolt, have the thing scream at them, charge in, do an additional D3 mortal wounds before you ever start attacking. That's just a lot. Can't get command abilities from themselves or a nearby hero. Can't receive it either. Yes, you are correct. I'm sorry, I got kind of caught up on thinking about what that means for units now that we have leaders, but you are correct. Yes, they can't receive it from anything, which is really great. Okay, next is Titanic Duel. Pick one enemy monster within 3 inches of this model. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this model that target that enemy monster until the end of the following combat phase. That is wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. What you're saying is that 1 mere command point, I can make my Mangler Squid more killy. No command points needed. These are not command point things. This is just if you charge. So yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Well, let's see. If you do the leader boss on the Mangler Squig, you could give the leader +1 to wound and 1 save, and then the monster during the charge phase, Titanic Duel or Stomp or something like that. So yeah, this is why they truly are trying to incentivize monsters and heroes. So it's a big deal. Not if you charge. It just says end of charge phase. You are correct. I apologize. I did make a mistake. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Yeah, because it's Monstrous Rampage. It's not Monstrous Charge. I got myself confused. Thank you so much, Wyvern, for pointing that out. So the last one here is Smash to Rubble. Pick one faction terrain feature or defensible terrain feature within 3 inches of this model and roll a dice. On a 3-up, the terrain feature is demolished if it was defensible, and the scenery rules on its war scroll cannot be used for the rest of the battle if it was a faction terrain piece. Now, I don't, I'd be honest with you, I don't really use, like, unless their wording is changed when it comes to defensible terrain. For me personally, I have never used, like, what do they call it? What do they call it when you can get inside the building? I can't think of the word right now. Not fortifications. Embark, barrack, I don't know. Something like that. But where you can go inside the buildings, never used it. But for faction terrain, this is a massive deal. Garrison, thank you guys. See, people say being a YouTuber is hard, but really I don't know things. I just throw out there and like I let people finish my sentences so I sound more important. That's what winning looks like. Oh man. Okay. Now that is gerrymandering. Yes. That land you own, yeah, you don't get a say in that anymore. Oh man, I love it. I love it so much. The way that he has an ability for it. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many. I wonder what this will do to the competitive scene when it comes to terrain. Now, one of the things about the terrain stuff. Thank you, John. I see. I'm not going to pull up his war scroll right now, but thank you. We'll check it out later. Pick one faction terrain feature. Yeah, so I like this quite a bit because, you know, people get terrain for free, and now we have a solution for free that everybody has access to, right? I think that's wonderful. Yeah, anyway. If you have more than 4 monsters, you'll have to be strategic about which of your vast hordes you send on a monstrous rampage, as you can only carry out each ability once per phase. These rampages make monster-heavy armies a lot of fun to play, and they're potentially pretty catastrophic for your opponent. Agreed. Between heroic actions, loads of command points to spend in monstrous rampages, your games are about to feel more cinematic and thrilling. Great care has been taken to make sure both players have things to do in each phase. Thank you. That's all I needed. So there's less downtime for you to wait, move your army, then shoot, and so on. So that's it for this article. This is, to me, just makes me so excited. Do any of the KO boats count as monsters? I don't know. Doug, did you see my last question? Oh, up here. I'm sorry. Do you think we'll get a Vermintide or Hired Gun type game for AOS? I would love one. I don't know. To be honest, destroying the faction terrain isn't that great. I disagree, John. I think it's incredible. I mean, when you talk about, one, the amount of damage that the Ossiarch Bone Reaper one can do just for existing, the Idenith boats and Nurgle trees are a massive part of that army. Like, integral. And then, not to mention Sylvaneth, who really aren't part of the discussion because they're kind of hard to use right now. They're in their battle tomes in a weird place, but shutting down Sylvaneth Wildwoods is really good. What other factions have fantastic terrain? I mean, not so much the Loon Shrine. That one's, it's cool looking. It's really great, but it's doesn't do a ton. Yeah, I don't know. But like those to me, it's just, what's wonderful is that it doesn't cost anything, right? Like, yeah, it's not always going to be useful. You're right, John. Like sometimes it won't be that great. Sometimes you're playing against Stormcast and there's no terrain. But the truth of the matter is, it's still an option that you have, you know, and depending on what type of terrain features they go with, let's see. Oh, never mind. Yeah, so it doesn't just get rid of terrain feature rules. It's only if it's a faction terrain feature does it go away. So the fact that it's an option. It's a tool in the toolbox. It's a straight win for that reason. Certainly doesn't cost you anything. But yeah. And we have one more. The cost is bringing a monster. Oh, but monsters are so much fun. We recently blew the lid off the upcoming Dominion box, heralding the next edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. We asked Warhammer Studio for their insight on how to make these units were designed. Basically, this is more of an artistic idea of the thoughts that went into the Cruel Boys. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not in love with the Cruel Boys yet. Okay? There's something about the faces that doesn't quite jive with me. But I do know that a lot of models I like more when I see them in person. And so I'm really just holding out hope for that. So I'm just going to wait patiently. I'm going to see them and I'll make a decision then. First of all, this background here that they've built is freaking incredible because there's an Idoneth boat up there in the tree. They got scaffolding from Warcry. I love it. It's all great. Okay. Let's see. The new orcs look different from the heavily armored Iron Jaws and the atavistic Bone Splitters, where the larger kin represent the raw brutality of Gork, half of the orcs twin-headed Gork and Morka. The Cruel Boys reflect the vicious inventiveness of Mork, which I always kind of felt like was a better role suited for the Gloomspite Gits, but okay. So these guys are now these are the cunning orcs. They're brutal, sure, but they're cunning. That sets them apart. They might not rush quite as headlong into battle, but they'll do anything it takes to win. No tactic is too underhanded or trick is too dirty for them. They even display an affinity for ranged weapons and poisoned blades. Nice. Win. Though the designs are fresh, veteran Warhammers will find strangely familiar things. Now, I love these shields. They actually do a picture here next scene that I want to talk about. Brightly painted, leering faces on greenskin shields have been a part of Warhammer for over 4 decades, and these sculpts bring them to life in greater detail than ever before. Older editions of fantasy battles are replete with examples of distinct shield designs, like the classic John Blanche studies, and it's easy to see how they've inspired stuff. So I love John Blanche stuff, to be perfectly honest with you. These are some old sketch style shields and junk. You can obviously see, yeah, I think there's a lot of inspiration taken there. I'm just going to put this out there. One thing that would absolutely make me go nuts for a Cruel Boys army, if somebody could make this bottom right shield with like a bit supplier or like a sculptor for 3D printing. I don't have a 3D printer, but I would figure one out for that. I love the moon shield. For some reason, the idea of the moon, I like that as like as a symbol of Mork, right? The craftiness. There's just kind of something creepy about it that I just love. So, yeah, I love that stuff. Okay. Cruel Boys are also far less uniform in appearance than what we've seen in other orcs, giving them army a motley appearance befitting their unsavory reputation. That's fantastic. So you can take these color schemes and just mix them to your heart content. They have all the orcs with red shields. And I did get confirmation these boys are actually on 32 mils, which does make me like them a lot more. I'm perfectly honest with you. Let's see. I like this quite a bit. Hobgrots. Hobgrots can be placed somewhere between an orc and a grot. They too have been around for ages in the form of hobgoblins. Hobgrots have a distinctive look that even amongst the Cruel Boys, with weapons and armor wrought in angular, sharp edges. I'm gonna be honest. I'm slightly iffy on the other Cruel Boys. I actively dislike the hobgoblins. I just don't like them. The peculiar appearance of the hobgrots is inspired by the hobgoblins of old, notable for their cruel grins, spiteful blades, and some unusual technology. Okay, so like I'm looking at this, I just don't like them. Like I like the faces a lot. Just the torsos and stuff. I don't know. If I was gonna play an army of these guys, like an army of Cruel Boys, I would just take everything but them. What's wrong with them? Nothing's wrong with them. It's just not my aesthetic. But if you like them, please go for it. For me personally, I think the torsos are too tall. It's the baby legs. Oh man. So I don't, there's nothing wrong with them. If you like them, I hope that you love them. You can buy mine. Oh man. So I'm just kind of interested to see how they fit into the army. What we do know already is that these guys are battle line, but as are the bigger ones. So, it seems perfectly reasonable that I could have a Cruel Boys army without ever touching any models I don't like. Because again, these are the only models I'm not a fan of. But that's just it for me. And we have the inspiration for the Thunderstrike Stormcast Eternals. Sigmar's champions continue to evolve to meet the changing battlefields of the Mortal Realms. They bear all the hallmarks of Stormcast Eternals you know and love, but they look a bit different and for good reason. This new breed of warriors wields blessed weapons and dons ingenious Thunderstrike armor. Jack says send him my way. Let's see. Yeah, so we got some cool... This is the Thunderstrike armor is the name, I guess, for the lighter mail that are plate that are wearing. So why different armor? If you haven't been keeping up on the Broken Realms, these new warriors are essentially the Stormcast Eternals' continued survival in the mortal realms. Sigmar's champions have been linked directly to Azir since their creation, but that connection has been compromised. Thunderstrike armor was designed to allow fallen Stormcast to pierce the veil of corrupt chaos energy that now swirls above the realms. The path back to Azir is still dangerous, and the Stormcast Eternals spend more time than ever on the ground, working more closely with mortal kind. So, yeah, I mean, the armor is not everywhere yet, so the Stormcast guys who are still normal just like playing a little bit more defensively because they don't go back to Azir, and that's the problem. Their armor is slender and ergonomic. That's a term that I've never heard used in a Warhammer article. Ergonomic. Oh my god. All the ridiculous crap that they put on these models. Hats that have brims that are 10 feet wide. Helmets that add an extra foot of height. Ergonomic has literally never been used in Warhammer. It's the antithesis. I love it. That got me too good. Okay. Compared to more classic styles, as befits longer deployments and campaigns without returning to Azir. Without the Thunderstrike armor, Stormcast Eternals would be losing a battle of attrition as their numbers slowly dwindle. They didn't really go much into the details of their inspiration, but honestly, this looks more like some of the concept art that we saw from John Blanche when Age of Sigmar was still a rumor. Like, honestly, they're much more slender, kind of a foreboding face on them. I don't know. I love them. Oren, you don't like the helmets? For me, I'm on board. I like the helmets. There's a lot more. It seems like there's a lot more unhelmeted options. But yeah, very Roman Centurion. For sure. For sure. So anyway, that is it for the news. I'm going to hover on this picture here. And I'm going to get myself set up for my main topic. It's going to be a fairly short one today, to be honest with you. Let's see. Okay, this is going to be a wee bit on the rambly side, but we'll come over here. So I wanted to talk today about winning during the edition change. So just to kind of throw this out there, if you have never experienced an edition change within a Games Workshop game, because there's a lot of folks who are newer to the hobby, essentially what it is they put out a new rule book that just addresses a lot of the questions and problems that people are having and hopefully kind of retunes the game to make it more accessible, easy to understand, and frankly more fun. And that's what we've been talking about today with the hero changes and monsters and stuff like that. The problem is, as they are doing that, and they're trying to give, kind of save up to give us something interesting to experience, rules are either leaked, meaning they weren't intended to get out, and someone who works at Games Workshop or has that early access to the rules started sharing stuff they weren't supposed to, or like the Games Workshop articles, they're doing one a day, they're just showcasing new things. The way that you win, I should back up. And because of that, because there's information coming out about the new edition, some people will take that, and I guess the only term I can really think of is like fearmonger. So, for example, you might see a rule that's like, let's take the Lookout Sir one, okay? Models that are more than 10 wounds can't get Lookout Sir. And then you'll hear people online like, oh my god, my army that has all these big master heroes that are all more than 10 wounds doesn't work anymore. That's hyperbole, of course. They haven't really revealed anything yet that's somewhat damning. But like, let's say they put out a rule that really affects horde units. You're going to hear the collective screams of every Skaven player in the world scream at once. So there's that kind of stuff. People take rules that don't have context yet and then make emotional reactions to them. The way that you win during an edition change is you sit in your lazy boy, your mental lazy boy, crank the seat back, and you just let Games Workshop show you what they're going to show you as they do. Take it in stride. The most important thing is that you don't react to stuff without full context. So, for example, we're looking at all these cool buffs to heroes and monsters, okay? And so your brain is like, oh yeah, I can make all these cool monster lists. There's the Magmadroth focused list from Fire Slayers, and obviously Flesh Eater Courts, and now the Avangori from Soulblight, and all these kinds of cool things. But even then, keep in mind, you don't have the full context of how this affects their point cost, how the limit of how many you can take might change. Force construction will change. We know that. We don't know the details of it yet in terms of how you actually assemble your army, but it will. And the missions will change that might de-incentivize monsters and that kind of stuff. So, like, again, keep everything with an open hand. Orin just says panic, panic. Yes. We notice this a lot. Honestly, I notice it more with 40k, to be perfectly honest with you, because on one hand, it just has more players and people who buy into it, and that's totally fine. When they make sweeping changes, people have I'm gonna say exaggerated reactions to things without the full scope. I think that's putting it very diplomatically to saying like nerd shriek 10,000 on every forum and message board. And it doesn't have to be that way for AOS. Honestly, it really does seem like this update to the game is just meant to fix a lot of things, inject new flavor into the game, and it's a great reset for getting new players on board. Frankly, I'm sure they're targeting some of those 40k players who have looked at Sigmar and just didn't really care for it. They're making it more like 40k, which is not a bad thing. 40k has some wonderful rules mechanics in it that are really quite fun. As far as what you can do during the edition change, honestly, read the articles from Games Workshop, or let me read them to you every Friday, and get excited for stuff. But I would say, honestly, the best thing is just working on your backlog. Don't have expectations. If there is a rule change that hurts an army in a very specific way, honestly, just waiting until they get their new battle tome or an FAQ that addresses it is not unreasonable. They've been really good about that, actually. With one notable exception. So, like, for example, when the new edition came out for 40k, and we saw rules for a thing called Blast, which basically means that certain weapons do much more damage to horde units, big horde units. Well, every Tyranid player, of course I just showed off my Tyranid army earlier today, screamed at once and was like, but that's like our jam. And so if something like that were to happen in AOS, yeah, you'd hear a lot of complaints from Skaven, Fire Slayers, Daughters of Cain, any horde army, right? Or at least that has a popular horde option to it. But again, you don't know the full picture, you don't know the full context, because depending on the way that missions change, it could totally balance out. So I just say, take everything. Oh yeah, I like this Spyro. Take everything with a pinch of salt. Yeah. One thing I will say, if the information does not come from the community page and it's just someone sharing, well, I heard that it's going to be like this, be like, shut up, you don't know a thing. That is literally my response. People have tried to send me like in my DMs on Instagram, like, hey, I have a rules preview for you from some guy that his cousin works in the packaging department at Games Workshop. You want to know a secret? And I'm like, no. Because I don't care. You know what I mean? So if you hear something from a source outside GW, what I do, quite frankly, is I just disregard. I'm like, I don't care. I put zero stock into anything I don't hear directly from GW. And with the stuff I do hear from GW, I remember there's a lot of moving parts to a war game. There's nothing that you can pull out in a vacuum that will make or break the game. It's an environment. It's an ecosystem of points and missions and unit rosters, like what units your army actually has available to it, and all those things. And so it's a big deal. But it's one of those things that can certainly cause anxiety, like a weird kind of anxiety. You know what I mean? Like maybe not an anxiety attack or something like that, but just kind of like in your mind, you're like, man, do I need to do anything? Do I need to paint anything? Is this going to be worthless? Like that kind of like gnawing in the back of your brain, very chill kind of anxiety. But I just mean kind of like a low impact one. But yeah, I don't know. Just be cool. Paint some models with me. I think I'm going to be doing a bunch more live streams for painting as the roll up to 3rd edition comes. I'm pretty much set on Stormcast, although I might grab like some of the original like 1st edition style Stormcast stuff, but that's about it. Cody Griffin. So my 2,000 point Stormcast thematically built around, what is this? A garrison led by my Lord Castellant. Gonna work? I don't know, but that's cool. You should definitely keep that. I mean, hey, Heroes got better. Why not? Are you telling people to be reasonable? How dare you? Yes. The ultimate sin is asking Games Workshop fans to be reasonable, of course. But yeah, so that's kind of what I thought is just when you look at these articles, and, it's the same kind of approach I take to like when they do their big reveal shows. Go in with no expectations, just see what they have, and like you can chat about it, but you'll get on Facebook or Twitter, I guess, not really Instagram because it's kind of a picture focus thing, but you'll see people having these extreme reactions to stuff, or they've already started like list building in their mind with this new rules, and you're like, bruh, you don't know a thing. Chill down. Let's see. John, I'm not sure about the AdMech stuff. I haven't seen their book yet. Sorry, brother. Do we know if the Stormcast versus Night Haunt box is going away? My partner wants to get into AOS with Night Haunt and was going to start a new force with them. I would definitely pick that up sooner rather than later. I do believe it is going away. I would imagine that'll go away as well as all the smaller versions of it. And if it's anything like the Death Guard half of the last 40k set, it makes getting into the faction a different proposition. For sure. I would say definitely go ahead and stock up. You can get just the half for pretty cheap on eBay, to be honest with you, and that's what I would suggest. For sure for you. I would assume it's going away. Manager at my Warhammer said once the ones he has are gone and he's not getting sent anymore. Oh, yeah, for the 2-player starter set that exists now. Yeah. So, I don't know. Just bring a crap load of Bloodthirsters and no change to my list. Exactly, and that's awesome. Because Bloodthirsters are monsters. They have to be, right? Yeah. Except for... Yeah, there they are. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. That, like, listen, the things that you can do in the meantime, because you have no control over the rules, they're already written. You're just getting anxious about something that you have no control over. And a lot of it's just hearsay. So put that out of your mind. Take a deep breath. Nerd rage out. Positivity in. And paint along, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a lot of hobby as we lead up to the next edition. I might grab some Stormcast off eBay just so I can have them, paint them. I'll in some free guild too, to be honest with you. I really want to do like a combined Stormcast and Cities army because it's very thematic and very beautiful. So I want to do that. And I'll also be painting some like Tyranids and random stuff. But join me as we do that, because that's the best way to get excited for stuff, is just having this kind of casual conversation with friends at the game store or online, and just talking about stuff that sounds fun and exciting. Like that's just the best part of an edition change. Knowing that, some people are going to be like, oh, this is worse. This is the worst. I'm going to set my army on fire, which is an old joke from Age of Sigmar players that happened when AOS launched. you know, you can go set your army on fire, or you can just enjoy it, take it in stride. One thing I will emphasize, and this is something that I feel like was not articulated well enough to me when I started this hobby, is that everything changes, right? Everything changes all the time. Units that were really good, they get less good. Units that were, playable dumpster fires, they get better. You know, they become more like a recycling bin. It has a purpose, even if you don't use it. But you can do lots of stuff, and so just kind of take it in stride. Points change, abilities change, rules change. Just have models that you enjoy and talk to people who make you more excited about the game. You know, and at the end of the day, if I could give one recommendation to anyone who watches this channel, you know, whether or not you care for my opinions or my hot takes or anything like that, just find someone who makes you feel better about your hobby. I can't fathom spending this amount of money and time in a hobby and then going online and there's just nothing but people who rail on it, crap on it. They're ruining my fun and that kind of stuff. Just leave. Just leave that situation, because your life is far too short for that. So, anyway, let's see. Will you be playing more Vermintide? I like Vermintide. It was quite a bit of fun. Yeah, I actually had a good thing going. I should get Age of Nagash. He was a super fun person to play that with. I got super busy. We used to play every Monday morning, and then I just fell off the side of the world. But yeah. On a fun note, Necromunda. Oh, the Necromunda video game. I downloaded that 2 nights ago. It is insanely fun. Insanely fun. We'll talk about that later, though. But yeah, so, you know, there's lots of ways you can do it. If you want to get excited about your faction, play some Total War. If there's an equivalent army, so to speak. Like if you play Orc War Clans, you're not going to be disappointed by playing Total War Orcs. You know what I mean? If you want Stormcast, it gets a little bit harder. But anyway, that's basically all I had. You know, limit emotional reactions and just work on your backlog. Get excited about models that might have new life breathed into them. Just from the previews that we've seen, there's plenty of stuff to be excited about. If you have a faction with access to large monsters, that's great. If you have a faction that has cheap little heroes, like we mentioned Nighthaunt, I think Blades of Corn is going to get a real buff because they have this huge suite of heroes that you rarely ever see. Well, now they can do stuff. You know what I mean? There's just a thing that they can do. I love it. So I think, you know, re-looking at your army list, even if you don't get a new battle tome right away, I would expect that Cruel Boys and Stormcast are the only ones who are getting an immediate battle tome release. But for the rest of us who just have any other army, there's plenty of stuff to get excited about. Plenty of I'm watching the chat. You guys are funny. But yeah, so there's plenty of stuff to get excited about. I'm going to be doing... is Gobapalooza finally viable? First of all, I hate that word viable. I'm not going to lie to you. It just makes me think of, like, for some reason, embryos. I think it's because Jurassic Park, the old one, when the big guy who kind of screwed everybody over, I can't remember his name, is it Dennis? He had, like, the shaving cream that was like a cooler thing to keep the embryos of the dinosaurs he was stealing viable. That's just how I associate that word. Anyway, sorry. But they've always been. Gobapalooza is awesome. Gobapalooza is all. Although they don't... do they have the hero keyword? I don't think they do, because they have the Lookout Sir rule built into them, but not the hero keyword to give them Lookout Sir, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway. Unplayable trash principle. Oh, you're good. You're good. So anyway, oh yeah, Beasts of Chaos is another fantastic army. Lots of cheap heroes and lots of cheap monsters in that one. Yeah, and so that's the biggest thing. Thomas just nailed it right. But whatever the outcome, I still like my army. And that's honestly why I always tell people to just pick armies they like. Things will change. Purchases will seem less important over time if you're like, man, but I spent a lot of money on this unit. When you buy a unit, understand that things change. That's just all there is to it. So anyway, friends, those are just my thoughts. You can definitely, if you are hearing a lot of complaining or negativity from people taking pot shots at the new edition or rules designers, I assure you, you will find nothing but basically positivity, or at the worst, neutrality here, where I'm just like, it's a roll, it's okay. That's basically it, right? I mean, that's John Bear. What if you like my army because they win? That's my voice of your text there. This probably isn't the channel for you. I don't know what to tell you. I am not what you would call a winner. But I don't know. I would like that quite a bit. So, like I said, I'll be doing more like what makes a man's heart go neutral. Oren, you cut me deep, buddy, and that was perfect. You don't even know how happy you just made me by saying that. Futurama is life. But yeah, so if you want something positive, come on in. And it's WYR. Okay. Well, thank you for correcting me. I'll get you next time. Anyway, that's about it. That's all I had for today. Just wanted to give you a little positive boost. And Shooty, thank you so much, buddy. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll have another chat next week as we talk about more reveals and that kind of stuff, and I'll tell you why you should not burn your army and be happy about what you have. It's basically the theme of this entire channel. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming.